Is love enough? And when love seems to fail, will fate correct it? Ariana loved a rich young master, and their love was perfect or almost perfect. But unfortunately, their worlds seem to be apart. Will there be a happy ever after? Or, let's dive into Love Beyond Legacy. Part 1. A Forbidden Love. Ariana Guez never expected to fall in love with someone like Kyle Gutu. Born and raised in a modest suburb of Harare, she was used to counting coins, stretching groceries, and sharing dreams in the dim glow of a kerosene lamp. But at the University of Zimbabwe, fate intervened. Kyle Gutu was everything she wasn't: rich, polished, and heir to the Gutu business empire. From their first encounter in a medical ethics class, something clicked. Their love blossomed quickly. He loved her simplicity, her ambition to become a gynecologist, and her honesty. She admired his intelligence and humility behind his wealth. But Kyle's parents had other plans, especially Mrs. Gutu, who had always envisioned her son marrying Vivian Zvamaimboti, a polished socialite from a prominent family. She had been Kyle's childhood friend, but he had only ever seen her as a sister. When Ariana fell pregnant in her final year, joy filled her heart. She imagined a future where she and Kyle would build a family together. But life had a cruel twist in store. One fateful morning, during a prenatal checkup, Ariana bumped into Vivian at the hospital. Vivian's smile was cold and her hug tighter than necessary. Within hours, Mrs. Gutu was standing in Ariana's ward with a thick envelope of money. "Take this and do what's best for your future," she said, voice clipped. "This baby doesn't belong in our legacy." Ariana refused. Later that night, as Ariana stepped out of her ward's restroom, her world spun. A sharp pain sliced through her abdomen. She collapsed, blood soaking her gown. Vivian stood over her, a hairpin glinting in her hand, panic on her face. But fate wasn't done with Ariana. Tanaka Masomera, a medical student on night rounds, found her just in time. He rushed her to surgery. Both mother and child survived, though barely. Ariana's heart hardened. When she recovered, she staged a scene with Tanaka at her home, laughing and holding hands, just as Kyle walked in. Shocked and shattered, Kyle turned and left without a word. The next day, Ariana and her family vanished. What Kyle never knew was that Ariana's disappearance had deeper roots. Years ago, Mrs. Guez, Ariana's mother, had been the first love of Mr. Gutu. But due to family business interests, he had been forced to marry another, Mrs. Gutu. Betrayed and broken, Mrs. Guez married a humble teacher who died young, leaving her widowed with Ariana and her little sister Anashe. She moved her daughters to Masvingo, far from the claws of the Gutu legacy. Kyle, meanwhile, was never the same. The heartbreak turned him into a stone-cold businessman. He inherited the family empire, turning it into powerhouse, but inside he was hollow. 5 years passed. One evening in Harare, Ariana walked through the city once more, holding the hand of a 4-year-old boy, Mufaro, Kyle's son. Now a qualified gynecologist, she took a transfer to a city hospital. She lived quietly, renting an apartment near the hospital and raising her son alone. Then destiny stirred again. On her first day, Ariana overheard a voice in the clinic room. It was Vivian, arguing with a man about her pregnancy. "This pregnancy is over 2 months. He'll know it's not his." "He never touched me," Vivian hissed. The man's voice trembled. "But it's my child. I want to take responsibility." "Hush, I'm marrying Kyle in 1 week. Do you want to ruin me?" Ariana froze. Her hands trembled. She realized Vivian had manipulated everything. Her silence had let Kyle walk into a trap. She had sacrificed their love, thinking he. That night, Ariana stood before her mother. "I'm going to fight for him, Mama. He deserves the truth." 1 week later, the wedding of the year was underway at a grand hall in Borrowdale. The bride, Vivian, stood radiant in white. Kyle, expressionless, waited at the altar. Guests murmured about their perfect match. But the groom's eyes held no joy, only resignation. The priest raised his voice. "If anyone has a reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." Suddenly, the doors burst open. Ariana stepped in, dressed in a simple navy gown. In her arms, she held a small boy. his resemblance to Kyle undeniable. Murmurs filled the room as she walked slowly down the aisle. "I object," she said clearly. "Kyle deserves to know the truth." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Kyle's eyes widened as he stepped forward. "Ariana," she handed him a voice recording, Vivian's conversation at the hospital, followed by pictures of her with the other man. Then she looked into Kyle's eyes. "I left because I thought you betrayed me. I faked that scene with Tanaka to protect you from your mother's wrath. But I was wrong. I should have trusted you." Tears rolled down Kyle's face as he picked up Mufaro, the boy resting his head on his father's shoulder, as if he had known him all along. Vivian dropped her bouquet, her lies exposed, her engagement shattered. Mr. and Mrs. Gutu sat stunned. Mr. Gutu stood, his voice filled with shame. "I owe you both an apology. To you, Ariana, and to your mother, Sarudzai." He turned to Mrs. Guaze, who had quietly entered the hall. "I should have fought for you. And for our love." Mrs. Guaze nodded, eyes misty. Kyle turned to Ariana. "Let's not waste any more years. Will you marry me?" With trembling lips, she whispered, "Yes." A year later, Ariana and Kyle stood at the altar once more, but this time, it was their wedding. Anashe danced with Mufaro, and Tanaka raised a toast to the couple he'd unknowingly helped reunite. Love, once buried under wealth, grudges, and misunderstandings, had triumphed, and so began their forever.